This is Elgin Subwaysurfer Bowling, your creative caricature marketing consultant. And in this segment, I'm going to go head to head with the all-powerful AI versus original art. Which one is better? Now, there's a lot of debate out there on AI, particularly amongst artists, a lot of fear, and it's not without reason. Professional artists like me, illustrators who create things out of our own imagination with our blood, sweat, tears, and ink or paint, even if we do things digitally like I do. The concern is that AI will take over our jobs because for the most part it seems that the general public doesn't care where the picture comes from as long as you have one. Not only that, the general public has who cannot draw, who were not born with that gift, always wanted to be artists. And now with the magic of AI, they finally can. I can go on and on about this debate, but I wanted to take a story that I had created. Well, it's not created, actually, it's an autobiographical story of an incident that happened to me when I first went to my first interracial junior high school back in the 70s. So this is a true story, and I just wanted to see side by side how AI would deal with the storytelling of this. The one thing that I was impressed with was that AI cannot redraw exactly your drawing. It realizes that that's copywritten material, and that type of plagiarism, for lack of a better word, would be stealing. Okay, so without further ado, let's go on. Here's where everything takes place. As an establishing shot, I asked ChatGPT, that's the AI program I'm using, to create for me a junior high school. Now, what I liked about the program was that within seconds, it created this high school replica. Well, not a replica because this is not the actual building of my high school or junior high school, but it's passable. I must admit, and that's one of the advantages I see of using AI, is that if you are stressed for time in a project and you need to create a background, the program can actually create for you a passable background. If you're terrible at drawing backgrounds, like some artists are, this can be a viable solution for you. But I digress. In the 1970s, there was a social experiment. Kids in the so-called inner city were getting an inferior education, while children in the more prominent areas, that's a code word for Caucasian, areas of the city were getting a better one. So they figured what we'll do is we will bus the urban kids, that's code name for Black and Latino, into the more, the better areas so that they can get the same quality of education that the other kids are getting. That was the experiment. They also figured that once these kids get introduced to each other, they'll become friends, and the racial tension that adults had will not be passed on to them. It was a noble idea. But for the most part, it didn't work. Here's what happened to me. In my first weeks of attending this new school, I was in the courtyard and I noticed this big gorilla, we'll call him Mike. was beating this kid literally bloody. And it was easy for him. Mike looked like he had gotten left back 5 times. He looked like a grown man. He was taller, he towered rather, over all of the other kids, and he even had razor stubble. I'm talking about the type of stubble that you see on the Flintstones, that their lower part of their mouth kind of has a greenish color. I'm not kidding. That's how this kid looked. When I saw that, I said, I hope I never get to tangle with this guy. So I'm walking through the hallways, and all of a sudden, this guy passes me by and says something nasty to me. He says, watch your back. Watch your back. Actually, he said something a little more racially charged, but I don't want to say that. Now, getting back to my criticism of AI, I drew all the comics in black and white. I told AI, please do not change the angle or the perspective of the character. Okay? But what AI's decided to do was not only change the angle, but to color it also. So now you have in AI's version, which is on the right, you have AI having the character come up behind me instead of walking next to me in my version on the left. If I was working for an art studio and I decided to go against the art director's specific instructions, I'd be looking for a job washing dishes or something. But let's continue on. Continuing on with the autobiographical story, and I admit I did draw this panel on the left for dramatic effect. This guy, Mike, didn't really get me on the floor. I just wanted to draw something that was emotionally charged. Okay, the drawing on the right is AI's version of this drawing. If you notice, he's not touching my nose. There's no physical contact. And also, he's magically showing his eyes. After I told AI, make his hair go over his eyes. That's what I said. But AI decided that that's not a good idea. You were going to have them make eye contact to make this interaction more intense. Once again, the artist, AI, going against the art director. That's me. And if you notice, the color in my original picture is, it's not actually a color, it's actually a photograph of my kids' high school at the time. But that's totally not the case using the AI. There's no color whatsoever. It decided to go in black and white. But let's continue on with our comparisons. So, continuing on with this autobiographical account, for the next couple of days, Mike would show up unexpectedly out of nowhere between classes. Somehow it was like he had some kind of signal or tip-off to where I would be, because he would always show up and he would never physically do anything to me, shove me or anything. He would just keep saying the same thing. Watch your back. Watch your back. I was terrified. I didn't know what to expect next or when the terrible beating would come. If you notice in my picture, the black and white picture, I'm not facing Mike. I'm looking out towards the viewer, and I'm terrified. Mike is just passing me by saying this. But AI on the right thought it would be more dramatic to have Mike coming at me physically. facing me, and I'm facing him. Again, he'd get called out on the carpet or called to the pavement if I was his art director. And this is what AI seems to always, more times than not, do. It has a hard time, at least the program I was using, of following direct, specific directions. And you have to do a variety of do-overs and redraws until it kind of gets things right. I guess this is a function of the machine, the software. I don't know what to call it. I guess this is the artificial intelligence part because it's trying to think, or rather outthink you of a solution. Let's continue on. So in the days that followed, Mike kept popping up and popping up when I least expected it, not saying anything else but his signature threat for me to watch my back. Like I said earlier, he was really saying some negative, insulting things about my race, but we can't, very well say those things and stay on the air. But you get the idea. It got to the point where even when I didn't see Mike, I'd be jumping at shadows, anticipating when he was going to come out. I couldn't concentrate on my schoolwork. I was too busy concentrating on my safety. And the image of that poor boy who got beaten in the courtyard, just stayed in my mind. It seemed like Mike was playing a cat and mouse game with me, and sooner or later he'd get bored taunting me, and then he'd start pounding me. That was my fear. If you notice, on my picture on the left, I'm not showing the full body. I'm showing just up to my chest and me worrying. On the one on the right, here you almost have my full body, including my legs. Once again, I'm the art director. I gave specific instructions of AI, ChatGPT, not to do this, but it decided, I think this is a better solution, and did it. This is perhaps the most bizarre change that AI made on my picture. On the left, I have 3 separate pictures, each one depicting my mood, from worried to getting some resolve to getting furious. The character, Mike, was on one end of the hallway talking to a girl, and I was on the other end, around the corner, where he couldn't see me, but I could see him. In real life, a teacher had sent me out on an errand. I was sure I wouldn't see Mike because we were between classes, and then I ended up seeing him, and I knew I had to pass that way. If you notice, with AI, not only did they change my race, but in all 3 panels, there's the same expression. And if you look at the character representing Mike, it's almost like he's expecting me, like he's actually looking for me. And again, instead of having his hair over his eyes, you can see his eyes, and the girl has completely disappeared. So apparently sometimes AI just figures, you know what? I know you gave me directions, but I just think it should go this way. And I think I will change your character in the process. Again, this surely would get you fired if you were working with an art director. I thought these things were supposed to be artificial intelligence. In this panel, we see an unsuspecting Mike talking to a girl being totally captivated by her as she is of him. Don't know what they see in each other, but there's some kind of a connection. My figure on the left is in black and white. But AI thought it would be more beneficial to draw in full color. And while he was at it, they thought, well, let's change the sneakers that he's wearing also. I put Mike originally in my depiction of Chuck Taylor's, but these look like Adidas. Whatever. Also, he made the girl a blonde. Why that choice was made, I have no idea. I did not specify that this be in color. I gave specific instructions. That's becoming an old song. But AI decided, well, I think it looks better this way. That's part of the artificial intolerance, incompetence of this AI program. Continuing on, keep in mind that these events that I'm describing actually happened to me in junior high school. Every bit of it. I just illustrating it for comic effect. And speaking of comic effect, here's what's happening now. I came from around the corner. I'm yelling to the top of my lungs, and I'm running as fast as I can toward Mike and his girlfriend, fists out, and running as fast as I could. When you look at AI's depiction of me to the left, they try to keep the same perspective and the same point of view, a worm's eye view, which I was happy about, which I told them to do. But right behind me is the girl that Mike is talking to, which would be a physical impossibility because I was around the corner when I was plotting my revenge, and she was busy talking to Mike. So logically, she shouldn't be there. But give it to AI. AI loves to change things regardless of how many times you specify don't change anything, which I did. An art director would not only fire me if I did this, but would make sure that I never worked anywhere else. Continuing on with the story, I ran full force at Mike, and without stopping, I jumped up in the air because he was taller than me and punched him dead in his face with a karate reverse punch as hard and as fast as I could, yelling out Kia, Kia, the whole time. The moment was magical. He was totally caught off guard, devastated, and got hit flush in the face with that reverse punch. I managed to make his face go in like a pillow just for comic effect, and I asked AI to do the same thing. But AI on the right had other ideas. They thought they'd show his eyes again and just have me kind of hitting him on the face. Keep in mind, well, you don't need to keep this in mind, AI, what actually happened was I had to do several tries just to get the AI program to have me punch him in the face. And notice also, we're in living color again. And not only that, AI neglected to show Mike's full body. It's a full body shot. But they decided to change things because, well, they're artificial intelligence, and I'm not. So Mike gets punched dead in his face, and he's holding his face. or at least trying to pull out his face. That was done for comic effect. His girlfriend started screaming because of all the action and the violence and everything. And I guess she and her boyfriend get punched in the face and not being able to retaliate. So that's what I did on the left. On the right, again, we're in living color. Living color. This was not supposed to be a color comic book. But again, AI thinks it's a good idea to go off the rails to freelance. Keep in mind, I got to be fair to AI. They can't copy your pictures exactly because that would be plagiarism. That would be copyright infringement. So it's very careful not to do that. But in trying to sidestep that, they sometimes come out with incorrect, presumptuous, and just totally wrong conclusions artistically.